Hey guys, it's me, Saren, back with another video. So, they announced that Harriet Tubman is going to be replacing Andrew Jackson, former president and slaveholder Andrew Jackson, on the $20 bill. And pretty predictably, most people seem like they fell into two camps: the people that were excited about it and the people that were pissed about it. I fell into the former camp. I think this is really, really cool, really exciting. But I was going through some tweets from the latter camp, and one of the main criticisms that I saw being made was that Harriet Tubman was anti-capitalism, that she was obviously anti-slavery, and that putting her on a piece of US currency, something that arguably represents both capitalism and slavery, was offensive. And that was pretty much a lot of the sentiment that I saw echoed from the people that were pissed off, that they felt like it was inappropriate, it was offensive, it was disrespectful, and some other stuff that I'm going to get into further on in this video. But my immediate response was that I personally feel like there are too many niggas that immediately want to piss in the Cheerios of other niggas when they see black people getting excited. We all know that capitalism is the fucking devil, okay? We all know that capitalism is the devil. But unfortunately, we live in a capitalist society. Like I always say, we live in a racist, sexist, classist, capitalist, whatever other isms you want to say, society that requires money to survive. And Harriet's face on the $20 bill is certainly going to be a daily reminder of what built capitalism in this country, which is slavery, which is why it's also pissing off white people. Anything that pisses off white people, I can pretty much get behind, so I'm good with that. And I personally think that reminder, I think it matters. I think it's important, and I think that it should be done. And I think that unless you live completely off the motherfucking grid, like the ferals and outsiders, and don't use money at all, I'm gonna need you to either shut the fuck up or address this with some nuance, because I see a lot of theories and conversations and opinions getting thrown around that are not nuanced at all. And this real idea of, well, it doesn't matter. You're putting her on money and it doesn't matter. This needs to be done. 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 We need to do this. We need to do this. We need to do this. It was similar to when they were talking about putting body cams on police, for example. And they were like, why do you want to put body cams on police? Body cams don't matter. They're still going to just record people getting shot. Instead, you need to completely dismantle the police force. You need to do this. You need to do this. You need to do this. Just the same as when they were taking down the Confederate flags. Oh, who cares if the Confederate flags come down? It doesn't mean anything. First of all, symbols mean something. Our society is built really heavy on symbols and what they mean and what they represent. It does matter. And I feel like these are the same people that talk smack about what we do here on YouTube, saying that we're not really doing anything. And, you know, there's this whole idea that shit has to be super extreme. Do you guys hear someone yelling outside? There's someone outside going like, hey, hey. Little kid getting in trouble. The mom is like, hey, come inside right now. Anyways, so there's this idea of if you're not doing something extreme, it's not radical, it's not revolutionary, it doesn't matter. But no one knows how any of this is going to affect anyone down the line. And seeing a black woman, a dark-skinned black female freedom fighter on a piece of US currency is going to matter to someone. Maybe it's not going to matter to you, but it's going to matter to someone. And I saw someone say, well, you know, you can't deny the irony of putting her on the currency. And I said, you know, well, the irony of, you know, putting slaves who were used as currency on actual currency, I see the irony there, but at the same time, that kind of implies that white people are the only appropriate figures to put on currency, or modern day black people like Barack, Martin Luther King, and Rosa Parks. Like, so do you feel like those are the only people that should be put on currency? And the girl actually responded to me with, no one should be on the currency, which I thought was a really interesting thing to say, and which I totally get. If you want to petition to get everyone removed off of US currency, Be my guest. I think it's weird as fuck that the monarchy is on English currency, and I have all types of fucking issues with having like British monarchs on currency in colonized countries and things like that. But just like I've said before, while we work to dismantle certain systems, we still have to continue to operate within the systems that currently exist. We still have to continue to operate within the systems that exist. There's way too many all or nothing types of people out here. People that are just like, oh, this is stupid, it doesn't mean anything, it's playing into capitalism, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I feel you, like I get you. Like, it's not exactly wrong. Like, I'm not trying to say that you're wrong. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of these ideas are overly simplistic. They're a very overly simple way of looking at things. And none of this shit is simple. It's all very, very nuanced. And I was talking to this guy on Twitter, Prince Classy. He was saying some really interesting things. I will put his Twitter handle in the description box if you guys want to follow him. But he said, since we're not dismantling capitalism tomorrow, we have the responsibility to find ways to argue in nuance, which basically means that there's levels to this shit. There's levels to this shit. It's not always all about doing the most extreme radical thing. And if you're not doing extreme radical things, then you're not making progress. I feel like that's a very simplistic way of looking at it. It's possible for us to do multiple things at once on multiple levels of importance, for us to feel multiple things at once, for us to recognize that capitalism is a corrupt system founded on slavery, and to also understand that placing a Black female freedom fighter's face on US currency is a big fucking deal, especially in terms of representation. We can do both. We can do both. We can also walk and talk and chew gum at the same time. We can also jump up and down and chew gum at the same time. Like, we can do both. We can do more than one thing at once. And Harriet Tubman herself was also an extremely multifaceted woman who, while she despised both slavery and capitalism, she was also quoted extensively on the importance of work and earning a living. And I actually have a quote here in front of me that I'm going to read to you guys. Most of those coming from the mainland are very destitute, almost naked. I am trying to find places for those able to work and provide for them as best I can, so as to lighten the burden on the government as much as possible, while at the same time they learn to respect themselves by earning their own living. Harriet Tubman. Obviously, she understands the importance of earning a living, of getting paid a wage, Harriet Tubman wasn't just out here like, yeah, fuck capitalism and fuck money and a lot of the things that I kind of see being flung around in her name and in her honor about why she shouldn't be on this money. Like, she was a multifaceted woman. She understood that you need this shmoney. You need this shmoney to get ahead, okay? There's another really famous story that I saw that I think I have saved on my phone. Let's see. Yep, have it. There's another one. This one's about specifically, a specific quote about her being told by God to get a $20 bill because she needed funds to effect the rescue of her parents from slavery. So I'm going to read you a little bit. Tubman had an intimation that her parents, still held as slaves in Maryland, were in trouble. She needed funds, she needed that shmoney to effect their rescue. Tubman marched into the New York office of abolitionist Oliver Johnson and staged a sit-down hunger strike to secure the necessary funds. The what? The shmoney. The Lord, she said, had told her to come and demand $20. Incredulous, Johnson ignored her. When she fell asleep, people who heard of her plight stuffed $60 into her pockets. She journeyed south and brought her father to freedom. I want $20, Tubman said. So she understood. To run the Underground Railroad wasn't free. People needed to eat. People needed clothes. People needed shelter. All those things that required what? That shmoney. That shmoney, okay? And then once she got them to freedom, she didn't just leave them out on the street talking about capitalism sucks. Y'all better figure it out. She tried to hook them up with jobs, again, places to stay. She was a smart woman, a multifaceted woman that understood, I'm trying to dismantle this capitalist society. I'm trying to dismantle this system of slavery, but at the same time, I'm trying to do these things from within the system. So there are certain, certain things that I understand about the way that the system works. And people act like they don't have that understanding, that critical awareness, and they act like Harriet Tubman didn't have it either. Like she was just anti-money, anti-capitalist, anti all these things. And it's like, I feel like when people heard the news that she was going to get put on this $20 bill, a lot of people decided they wanted to cut off their nose to spite their face, as the saying goes, you know? Like, again, Harriet Tubman was not blindly anti-money. She understood the importance of funds in a capitalist society, and yet you have people saying, oh, Harriet Tubman wanted to dismantle the very system that operated in U.S. currency, so it's disrespectful to put her on money. Do you think that some shmoney never came across Harriet Tubman's hands? Because it did. And unfortunately, she's not here, so we can't ask her what she thinks about getting put on the $20 bill, but she does literally have quotes and all types of stories and memoirs and biographies, you know, where she talks about the importance of not relying on the government, working to earn a living, needing funds, knowing how to utilize your own funds and taking care of yourself, and how important it was to be paid a living wage to earn your self-respect. She clearly understood the importance of that shmoney and the importance of operating within a system while attempting to dismantle it. And it seems like a lot of y'all do not have that understanding because y'all are a bunch of motherfucking simpletons. Like, I don't know. You know, I also want to say that I feel like former slaves like Harriet Tubman probably especially would understand the value of money and getting paid for time and labor, you know? I feel like, again, a lot of people want to cut off their nose to spite their face because they're not thinking deeply enough about it. They're not thinking critically about it. They're really only skimming the surface of, Harriet Tubman wouldn't want this because of what it represents. And two, oh, this doesn't matter because it's not big enough. You know, it's not big enough. And I was talking to Prince Classy, and he said some more things that I thought were really interesting. He said, you know, I would say that her face on the bill is itself a poignant critique of capitalism's inextricable link to dehumanization. It's brilliant to be faced with a liberation heroine on the very bill that represents capitalist violence. It's kind of like a fuck you, right? It's kind of like a fuck you to the American Treasury. It's kind of like a fuck you to the American economy. It's kind of like a fuck you to the American government. Like, it's a real interesting thing, in my opinion. I think it's very multidimensional and multifaceted, and it's not as simple as people are trying to make it out to be. And Prince Classy also said something that I really liked. He said, a lot of these arguments are based in truism, and they're dangerous because they don't allow dissent or interpretation. Now, truism is a statement that is obviously true, truism, and that says nothing new or interesting. So, for example, stating that putting Harriet Tubman's face on the $20 bill isn't going to lead to a drop in mass incarceration or an end to systemic racism or improving education, that is truism. Like, we all know that putting Harriet Tubman's face on the $20 bill is not going to lead to any of those things. You're stating the obvious. Again, a lot of this is what I've talked about in the past. It's rhetoric. It's words that sound nice but don't really mean anything. It's truism. It's just stating the obvious. Harriet Tubman's face is on a $20 bill, but there's still hundreds of thousands of black men that are incarcerated. What does one thing have to do with the other? How would putting her face on the $20 bill even affect that? Like, why are you even trying to make those links and those parallels? Like, you're stating the obvious. We know it's rhetoric. It doesn't mean anything. It means nothing. It's fucking bullshit. Like, we know. Like, I don't think anyone truly believes in their heart that putting Harriet Tubman's face on the $20 bill is somehow going to magically be the equivalent to receiving reparations or stopping black people from getting killed in the street. I don't think anyone believes that. So why do you feel the need to say that, like, as if we thought that stupid shit? Like, you know, people are allowed to have this moment of joy. Like, even though we all know that putting Harriet Tubman's face on the $20 bill is not going to magically end racism, like, people are allowed, just like fucking Barack getting elected didn't magically end racism. People are still allowed to have their moments of joy. People are allowed to have this moment of joy over the removal of a slave-holding fucking pig from a piece of U.S. currency in favor of a dark-skinned black former slave turned freedom fighter. People are allowed to feel that joy. And a lot of y'all niggas, don't want us to feel that joy. Like, I was going through the pissed off side of Twitter, and I just felt like there was like a lot of oversimplifications and just a whole lot of people just talking out of their assholes and just like, I read a tweet that said, oh, this country owes black people $15 trillion, but nah, here's a 20 with a black face on it. Who said that the $20 bill with Harriet Tubman is supposed to somehow equal out $15 trillion? Did you actually see someone tweet that? Have you actually heard anyone say that? Who said that? No one. No one said it. Not one person has fucking said that putting Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill is in any way a supplement for reparations. No one. Literally no one. Another fucking tweet that I saw, it said something like, Harriet Tubman is going to be on the $20 bill, but, racism and capitalism is going to remain intact, and reparations are still nowhere to be seen, and, we're still going to be out here getting shot in the street. What does one have to do with the other? That's like saying Barack got elected, but racial capitalism still exists and reparations are nowhere to be seen. Like, yes, that's true. Like, so since racial capitalism and reparations still exist, people can't celebrate that Barack got elected. People can't celebrate small victories. Melissa Harris Perry, who I'm not even a fan of, recently was offered a job at Elle as editor at large. That's like saying, oh, you excited that Melissa Harris Perry got elected, got offered the job as editor at large, but we still didn't get reparations though. You're right. I don't. Yeah, I guess. Like, it makes no sense. It's a real disconnect, it's a real weird disconnect, and it's basically telling people that since bad things are still going on, you're not allowed to celebrate these small victories. Bad things are still going on for black people, so you cannot celebrate these small victories, and if you do, you're stupid because they don't mean anything. And how is that fair? How is that fucking fair? Like, y'all go out of your way to be sour apple bitter fucking bitches in the eternal immortal words of Gucci Mane. And sour apple bitter bitches, I'm not fucking with them. Like, I just don't. Like lemonade, I just don't do it. Like, be upset that more work needs to be done. Certainly, we are nowhere near finished. So be upset that more work needs to be done. But why do you also feel the need to downplay the significance of this particular moment in time as well? Why? That's like when the Voting Rights Act was passed. Oh, niggas could vote, but niggas still haven't got their reparations yet, so I don't know why y'all niggas are excited. That would have been y'all back in the day. And it's just like, when you spend your time trying to piss in fucking people's Cheerios and trying to fucking take their happiness away from them, you clearly don't want them to feel that joy. That joy pisses you off. And it's just like, why? Why does that joy piss you off? It pisses you off because you feel like, basically what you're saying is, you feel like black people don't have shit to be joyful about. Don't be joyful. Y'all niggas don't need to be joyful. Y'all still black. Y'all still don't have this. You still don't have this. You still don't have this. You still don't have this. Why do y'all feel joy? Go sit in the corner somewhere and be depressed. And I just feel like, nah, you're not going to take my joy away from me. Just like I've said in other videos, black joy is revolutionary, and you're not going to take my joy away from me. Like, if you want to wallow in how you feel like this shit doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, you go right ahead. But you're not going to take it away from me. I have a working knowledge of the way that all these systems work. Capitalism, fucking the way that shit was built on slavery, all that. And I'm still excited, and I'm still allowed to feel that joy. And it's just like, there are so many sandcastle stomping, raining on the parade, peeing in the Cheerios ass motherfuckers out there. And it's just like, for anyone watching, I do want to tell you yet again, you are entitled to your black joy. They're entitled to their criticism. They're entitled to feel like, more work needs to be done. But you are also entitled to your black joy over this. And don't let anybody try to take that away from you. Seriously. So before I go, I want to read you guys a couple more tweets. Prince Classy. It's so interesting to me that some black folk would prefer a slave master on a bill than a black liberator of slaves. But what do I know? Brown and Bella. Well, Dear Leader 10, faces on currency are symbolic. You either want black contributions recognized or you don't. Brown and Bella, there it is. And again, like I said in this earlier in this video, symbols are important. Symbolism is important. Like, no, this is not fucking dismantling systemic racism and getting us reparations, but these symbols do matter. Shan 37, so confused by this mixed feeling reaction. Do they want the slaveholders to remain on currency? Perhaps our image there will remind people that there are nuances to her life, cause, and slavery. Brown and Bella, I really find the I'm gonna tweet really hard against capitalism from my iPhone 6 crowd super funny. Like, fall down and laugh till I cry funny. I assume anyone who disapproves so strongly of currency and monetary policy is planning on going off the grid ASAP. You know, just like I said, I saw another tweet, I didn't write it down, but it said something like, you know, everything we use is in some way touched by blood. It was something like that. The foundation, the cornerstone of our American society is slavery. Everything, which I plan on making a video on how everything goes back to race, because people always say that not everything revolves around race. No, everything in our society revolves around race. Everything goes back to race. Everything goes back to race-based chattel slavery. That's literally what our society was built on. So everything is touched, as that person said, by blood, by the blood of the enslaved. There's nowhere you can go that you can get away from that again, unless you completely retreat from society and you like live out in the woods, completely unplugged from the internet, from the TV, the media. So, you know, it's like these same people, like, would you not watch, for example, a documentary or a movie made on Harriet Tubman? Because a documentary and a movie made on Harriet Tubman costs money to get made. It's probably going to air on TV that's going to have advertisements that are going to make money, or it's going to be shown in a movie theater and you're going to have to pay for a ticket, and so that's going to cost money, so that's going to go back into capitalism. You know, it's a slippery slope of you saying, well, you shouldn't put her fucking face on the bill because capitalism, but everything involves capitalism. You can't, like, again, unless you're gonna go live in the woods like the pharaohs. It's very nitpicky, and again, it's a very oversimplified way of looking at things. Where was I? Smooth orator. There's a lot of things you're currently supporting that was funded or created from slavery. Don't make the H-dub the cross you die on. Nobody knows if Harriet would have wanted to be on the $20 bill or not, but considering her history and America's history, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. If you're really that anti-capitalist, you wouldn't be on Twitter because you wouldn't have a phone. You'd be off the land. You'd be living off the land unaware of the announcement in the first place. Exactly. Brown and Bella, the contributions of Black people needs to be recognized and respected. Puts Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. How dare you put Harriet on the $20 bill? Pick a side. Exactly. A lot of people want it both ways. They want to see Black Americans' contributions recognized, but only in the way that they want, which I've also talked about before in videos like my What is Pro-Black video. There are a lot of pro-Black people out there that feel like their way is the only motherfucking way. And if you're not doing it their way, you're not doing it the right way. And I don't get down with that, me personally. So there was one more whole series of tweets that I want to read because I thought they were awesome. D. Takafari, which I will definitely have in the description box. She wrote, "How about this? Everyone is right. Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill is at once progress and mockery. That is the essence of being Black in America. Nuance. You see how she's getting into the nuance of it. Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill ain't gonna save us. Neither is it a bold symbol of progress. We're clear on that." Again, truism. No one being on the $20 bill suddenly ends all of Black people's problems in this country. These are my words. And I find it super interesting that for a lot of people, the knee-jerk reaction of seeing Black joy over Tubman on the $20 bill is for other Black people to feel the need to remind us that we're still fucked up. Like, y'all niggas is still fucked up. Like, don't get excited, niggas. Like, stomp on our sandcastle, ruin our parade, and piss in our Cheerios. Back to her tweets. "But I'd be lying if I said it didn't tickle me to see Black and beautiful Harriet Tubman supplant a white slaver. I'd be lying if I said that one less white racist on my money makes me any never mind. America always has and always will give the descendants of African slaves far less than they actually deserve, including Harriet on a $20 bill. Howsoever, I don't need white men on the currency to know what capitalism has done to black bodies in America. And for me personally, my words, I don't need to wait for race relations to be perfect and capitalism dismantled before I get a black person on a piece of US currency. I personally don't need that. And I also want to add before I go, that a statement was made by Ben Carson where he said, "I love Harriet Tubman. I love what she did, but we can find another way to honor her." Number one, so a lot of y'all agree with Ben Carson. Let that sink in. A lot of y'all agree with Ben Carson, saying that he loves Harriet Tubman, he loves what she did, but he thinks we could find another way of honoring her, like putting her on the $2 bill. That's what he said. Sounds like hate to me, sounds like haterade, sounds like hateration, sounds like holleration in this dancery, but a lot of y'all agree with him. I want to say that I think discussing what is another way, because he said we can find another way to honor her, and a lot of people are saying that. I think discussing what is another way or a better way to honor Black American figures is a very valid conversation, but I think it's a different conversation and one that can be had without tearing down what is already being done and what is a pretty momentous occasion. We can discuss how do we want to honor Black American heroes without tearing down the fact that they're talking about putting Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. Like, we don't have to say, don't do it, there's something better. They can do it, and we can also think that there's something better. It's not an if, and, either, or type of scenario. Again, that's overly simplifying it, you know? And someone on Twitter did ask, so American capitalism was built by the unpaid work of your ancestors. In what ways would you like them to be honored? Serious question, which is a great question, which is a great conversation that, again, doesn't have to be had at the expense of Harriet Tubman being on the $20 bill, or again, any other small victories that make people feel good. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It doesn't have to be my way or the highway, you know? And a lot of people gave her some suggestions. As far as I'm concerned, nothing this government does could ever thoroughly honor my ancestors, but money talks, you know? Free education at universities, colleges, and trade schools, and debt paid for those of us that have already attended, for starters. You know, a lot of people were putting in their 2 cents. And again, that's a great conversation and one that needs to be had. But why do you want to have that conversation at the expense of the joy that people feel right now over what they feel is a small victory? I feel like that is something to think about. Why are you unable to examine this with nuance and the fact that there's motherfucking levels to this shit? Just something to think about. Just some food for thought. Food for thought as always. All I'm trying to do is give y'all some food for thought. So, of course, there will be links and Twitter handles in the description box. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Food for thought as always. See you guys next time. Peace.